Good afternoon, happy Savage Saturday, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, and we are here with Savage Saturday Comic Review, episode 141, and we're bringing you a short horror tale from Robert E. Howard this week. I first came across this tale in The Horror Stories of Robert E. Howard, and as you can see, this thing has been read a lot. It's been gone through. Great stories in here, and this story was actually the first one in this book. All right, and as an adaptation from Dark Horse Comics when it was running the Savage Sword series of Conan. It was just regular comic format. I have it here in the Savage Sword Volume 2, and we're going to go through, read this short horror story, have a little bit of fun with it, see a little bit of the terror. And the title of today's story is called In the Forest of Villefair. All right, and as it begins, we see a guy walking into this forest with weird trees. And it says, the sun had set. The great shadows came striding over the forest. In the weird twilight of a late summer day, I saw the path ahead glide on among the mighty trees and disappear. Miles behind lay the nearest village, miles ahead the next. And you just see the guy looking around. You see his feet as he goes through. He hears something snap. And he goes, I stopped short, grasping my rapier, as a breaking twig betokened the going of some small beast. Or was it a beast? But the path led on, and I followed, because, forsooth, I had naught else to do. My own thoughts will rout me, if I be not aware. What is there in this forest, except perhaps the creatures that roam it, deer and the like? The foolish legends of those villagers. So we get our first page here. So there we go. And you see him entering the forest. And he's trying not to let superstition and the talk of villagers have him imagine something that's not there. So as we turn our page, we see him continuing on. It says, and so I went, and the twilight faded into dusk. Stars began to blink, and the leaves of the trees murmured in the faint breeze. I stopped short, my sword leaping to my hand, for just ahead, around the curve of the path, someone was singing. The words I could not distinguish, but the accent was strange, almost barbaric. And you see him turn the corner, and there's a robed figure, and he's looking down at him. The robed figure's in the forest singing. And then we just get a close-up shot of that, and the guy draws his sword. He goes, a man I did not fear. I spring out, my point raised. And he yells out, stand! And he holds his sword out. The robed figure says, I prithee, handle thy blade with care, friend. And then he says, and all the boxes, it's all inner monologue for him. He says, somewhat ashamed, I lowered my sword. And then he speaks aloud. I am new to this forest. I heard talk of bandits. I crave pardon. Where lies the road to Villefair? And the figure thrusts out a bony finger, and he says, you've missed it. You should have branched off to the right some distance back. I'm going there myself. If you may abide my company, I will direct you. And you see him give a furtive glance to the guy in the robe, and he says, why, certainly, my name is Montour of Normandy. All right, and then we have those two pages. So our two principal characters have met, and things are afoot. So as they begin their journey to Villefair, we continue on to the next page. The robed figure speaks. And I'm curious, Leloup, my family... And I'm Carolus Leloup. My family were always great hunters. And the inner monologue says, he did not offer his hand. And then Montour speaks out loud. You will pardon my staring, but I can hardly see your face in the dusk. And when he gets a closer look, he sees it's covered with a mask. He goes, a mask? And his hand goes to his sword hilt. He goes, why do you wear a mask, monsieur? And the robed figure replies, it is a vow. In fleeing a pack of hounds, I vowed that if I escaped, I would wear a mask. And Montour says, hounds, monsieur? He goes, wolves. I said wolves. So already a little hint there. Something is strange. The robed figure continues speaking. I am surprised that you walk these woods by night. Few people come these ways, even in the day. To which Montour replies, I am in haste to reach the border. A treaty has been signed with the English, and the Duke of Burgundy should know of it. The people at the village sought to dissuade me. On to the next page, and you see the inner monologue again of Montour. He goes, he was dressed in a costume that smacked of Spain. A long rapier swung at his hip. And the robed figure says, here the path branches to Villafair. You wish to return to the village? And to which Montour replies, no, lead on. And back to his inner monologue, he says, he began to talk of travel and adventure. He spoke of many lands and seas he had seen and many strange things. I presumed that he was French, and yet he had a very strange accent, not like any language I had ever heard. Some words he slurred strangely, and some he could not pronounce at all. And then he speaks out loud to the robed figure. A fiend haunts this forest, werewolf. And the figure replies, so the peasants say. I have roamed it oft and have never seen his face. Haste now, we must reach our destination before the moon reaches her zenith. And back to his inner monologue, and it says, then he began to speak of strange creatures of darkness. And the moon rose and shadows glided among the trees. And the robed figure speaks, the old women say that if a werewolf is slain while a wolf, then he is slain. But if he is slain as a man, then his half soul will haunt his slayer forever. Let us pause a while. To which Montour replies, nay, let us be gone. I like not this place. And they've entered this clearing. So there you go. So some fun art. Definitely a unique style, but it works well for the story. All right, so we continue on to the next page. And you see the robed figure kind of starting to do like a little dance. He goes, why, this is a fair glade, as good as a banquet hall it is, and many times have I feasted here. Hi, look, I will show you a dance. And Montour reaches for his blade. He goes, come, we must move on. Do you not smell the rank, hairy scent that hovers about? Wolves den here. And the robed figure replies, that dance is called the Dance of the Wolf. And he jumps towards Montour, who screams out, keep off! And then he's upon Montour. His face is bared, it's skeletal, huge teeth, and he bites Montour on the shoulder. Montour drives a blade through him, and the figure collapses. And you see the moon coming up. And Montour goes, if I slew the thing as a man, its frightful spirit would haunt me forever. And you see him sit there and wait. The creature's laying there wounded, and he waits for it to finish its transformation in the full moon. And the creature's all bloody and looking up at him with hate in its eyes. And Montour keeps his inner monologue going. He goes, the long, wiry limbs seem to shrink to crooked hairs, to crook. Hair seem to grow upon them. And then you see him slash down with the sword, the werewolf sword. He took his and he slams it down into him, and he buries it in his skull, and it says, the end. So he waited until the creature had fully transformed so he wouldn't be haunted by the half of a soul of a man. And the other half, the werewolf, would just go on. And there we go, our last little page there. But just a quick horrific read. It's a fun little story. Is it set in a new barn horror? No, but it's got a good little creepy feeling to it as he's sitting there putting his trust in a stranger, even apologizing to him for John's sword. Well, this guy is baiting him along until he can change and kill him and eat him. So fun little cat and mouse there. Little tricky dialogue. The robed figure misspeaking here and there to give little clues as to his true nature. But a fun little tale, a good little adaptation. There wasn't a lot to adapt. I'm actually surprised I got that many pages out of it, but it was a good adaptation. It fit the whole story in from the book, so really, really well done. I'm going to give this art a B+. I really liked it. I thought it fit the story, but it's still not my favorite style of art. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Just doesn't really particularly fit my taste. I would have liked the werewolf to be a little more wolfy. Instead, he was more skeletal, which is still interpretation, so it's gonna resonate with some, not with others. For me, it was okay. The story, for the adaptation, it gets an A+. It adapted it pretty much exactly word for word from the short story in this book. But Story-wise, we'll give it an A. It's serviceable. It's meant to be short, horrific fiction. It was. A little cat and mouse, a confrontation at the end, and our hero continues on his journey. But that's it. Let me know if you guys like that short little horror tale from Robert E. Howard. And until next time, thank you for watching and keep it casual.